Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out and being part of the very first session on this Wednesday morning after the gala event. As Andy said, I'm Jackson Bazley. I'm an executive director with EY. I've been working in the media space now for about 22 years. Most, if not all of that time spent working with the Media Rating Council in the United States. Those of you who are familiar with George Ivey and his team at the Media Rating Council will know what that means, but that's been the focus of my career for the last 22 years. Interestingly enough, started off in television, moved into other media. First got started in digital media in 1997, believe it or not, with a company that had installed meters on personal computers to figure out what people were doing with these things in the late 90s. And then, like many of us, rode the wave as we moved into banner impressions, rich media and video, moving into clicks and CPC marketing. More recently, moving into viewable impressions as we begin to transition into audience measurement, dealing with invalid traffic, and of course, walled garden measurements, which I think we're going to have some fun talking about tomorrow. What I'd like to do this morning is introduce the panelists that I have. The three presentations we're going to have today are going to be made by Heather O'Shea, the VP of Ad and Audience Research at Research Now. She's going to come up and talk to us a good bit about validating audiences. Following her will be Pedro Silva and Tom Droulard. Pedro is the president of IBC Brazil. Tom is the CEO of the Alliance for Audited Media, and they're going to talk about validating publishers. And then last but not least, we're going to have Bethan Crockett and Chris Olson come up. Bethan's the Digital Risk Director for Group M. Chris is the CEO and co-founder of the Media Trust. And they're going to come up and talk to us about the impacts of regulation on your use of data. I'm not going to say that little four-letter acronym that scares everybody. I'll let them do that. So with that, let me bring Heather up and let's get started.
Good morning. So today we're going to talk about our audience validation product here at Research Now and some of the trends that we've been learning from this product. So the exponential growth of video viewing outside of linear TV has created shockwaves in the advertising industry. Video consumption has proliferated in such a way that consumers are completely device and provider agnostic. When I think about how I watch my favorite my favorite TV programs, I do try to catch them live when I'm at home, but most of the time I'm watching them over the top through Roku, or when traveling, such as this week, I'm watching them on my tablet or my mobile device. And as a result, content has really become king. And so, as evidenced by this quote from the CMO of Tremor Video, but also heard over the last couple of days in the roundtables and discussions, and I'm sure it will continue to come up. So advertisers must be very thoughtful and tactical in how they manage their cross-media one-to-one marketing communications. And we're even seeing that broadcasters and media publishers are starting to come into the space and unveil new solutions. So we see from Fox, Turner, and Viacom their open AP solution, and this will continue, where it's more about targeting an audience and targeting content no matter what screen it appears on. So that really then begs the question for the audience today, and everyone who made it here at such an early time, thank you. How do we measure these cross-screen one-to-one marketing communications? How do we identify from a single source the reach and frequency for these cross-media campaigns? And even taking a step back, how do we evaluate cross-digital, even across mobile and desktop, rather than stitching together or trying to model from disparate sources? Well, the way you do that is you really start with people. And that's our philosophy here at Research Now. It's to measure people, not households, cookies, or devices. We have the world's largest global panel with over 8 million high-quality active panelists. And we're tracking their digital exposure, regardless of where they're exposed to an ad. It could be across their desktop, their laptop, their mobile, and their tablet. And we're able to do this through persistent first-party cookies. And so even on the mobile in-app side, we've forged partnerships with many of the in-app partners to be able to identify our panelists who are users of these apps and to track ad exposure there as well. So this is truly a single source for passive measurement across all media. And On top of that, since there's such high-quality active panelists, we're collecting profiling points, and we have over 300 profiling points on each of these individuals. So not only are we able to provide reach and frequency across age and gender demographics, but we're able to get to truly the marketing segments that advertisers care about. So think about your heavy travelers, your moviegoers, allergy sufferers, those with investable assets over $100,000, which you get asked, about. And, that list continues to go on. And to take it even further, we're partnering with innovative technologies in order to passively capture the offline space as well. So to eliminate the need for surveying to capture offline media. An example of this is we've recently partnered in the US with a company called Alfonso TV, and they have over 40 million individuals in which they're tracking their TV ad exposure passively through audio content recognition. We've identified those people on our panel who were then able to measure TV ad exposure passively. So this has been a really robust exploration for us as well, and it's just the beginning. We'll continue to make partnerships in this space. We see this to be the future of audience measurement. It's true single source passive measurement at scale. We're looking at individual people, not households, not cookies. And this gives us total unduplicated reach and frequency for all media channels. And that's our audience validation product. So I'll take you through an example of a case study in which we're starting to see some trends. And this is pretty consistent with many of the audience validation studies we've done. So a beverage brand approached us. They had 3 key questions. Firstly, how do I know whether my campaign reached our marketing segment, which was beverage consumers, not an age and gender demographic? How do I understand the amount of people that were exposed across digital and TV? And this campaign contained desktop, mobile, and TV. And how can I do that with a smaller campaign that's only 1 month long? So what was really surprising and encouraging for us, we actually piloted Alfonso technology for this, and we identified over 3,700 individuals on our panel who were exposed to the TV campaign. And when we layered the digital passive measurement, we saw over 8,000 panelists who were exposed to this 1 month long, smaller cross-media campaign. It's really providing the scale to be able to measure smaller campaigns, and we don't need a really high reach campaign to be able to do this type of analysis. Now, what was less surprising, which we learned, was that the digital channels did a better job at reaching the lifestyle targets. So this chart displays the ability of each channel to effectively deliver reach to each of the targets. Green being those channels that over-index, red being those that under-index, and yellow being those that are flat. So we can see that cross-media exposure as well as digital exposure did the best at reaching these beverage consumers, while TV didn't do so well. Now, what was interesting for us to also learn, and this is really important when we get back to that cross-screen one-to-one marketing. Now, just layering media doesn't simply mean that you're going to have high duplication amongst those channels. And we're seeing this for many of the campaigns that we're measuring, that there are people who are exposed to this campaign tended to be exposed on only one channel. There wasn't a ton of duplication here amongst the channels. And that's quite important because on the ad effectiveness side, we actually found with this campaign that those exposed across TV and digital together actually had the strongest return on brand health metrics, particularly when trying to change perceptions and brand attitudes for this beverage brand. So as a result, advertisers need to be very thoughtful in this cross-media type of communication. Simply targeting and simply buying multiple media channels doesn't mean that we're going to have that duplication. That's why it's important to work with these media publishers and broadcasters to ensure that cross-screen exposure. And that's really just the beginning. Once we layer control and expose survey measurement to our audience validation product, that provides us with the opportunity to do really rich data analysis, including media optimization and deep insights for media allocation. Thank you.